Well, the good news is most of those are still running at this year's Cheltenham Festival, and really looking forward to seeing all the action next week. Now, I want to put up some horses to follow into the Cheltenham Festival next week, and 4 of them from handicaps, because I don't know, the way the race is developing now, if I want to have a go at something, it's going to be in the handicaps. We know the weights. We've had our 5 days for the Tuesday, so we know what's lining up there. So a couple of plays take place on the Tuesday, and then we've got one on the Wednesday and one on the last day as well, which is an obvious one, which has been absolutely hammered, but I want him on side. So first of all, first of the handicaps is the Ultima, and the horse I want to have on side is Kim Bailey's Chianti Classico. This is a horse who was 2 from 2 over fences. Prior to that, had some good hurdles formed. The only disappointment came in the Albert Bartlett last year at the Cheltenham Festival. He went into Kempton. He's in the red hat on the outside. There he is with the traditional Kim Bailey noseband on board. You know, he ran a good race. He was wide throughout. Harry Cobden was on board this stage. It was obviously the plan to keep him as wide as possible. I thought he was going to go and win his race at this point. I think he was probably just done by the horse on the inside, going the shortest way around and probably having a little bit too much toe for him in the end. He gets a decent enough leap there. Again, he landed running. I wanted him to go on and extend away and go on and score. This was at the point when Kim Bailey was still having winners at this point. They then went into a quiet spell. It's been pretty well documented. Of course, they won the Grimthorpe at the weekend with Does He Know? So I guess going into Cheltenham, that's a big boost for the fact that the Yard are back in amongst the winners, because they went a little bit quiet. They've had a really good season, all in all. In comparison to last year, it's a big upgrade numbers-wise to last year. So Chianti Classico, he's got the right sort of profile for the race. You tend to want to play towards the top of the market, to be honest. If Giovinco lined up, I'd be half interested in him in the race as well. I'm not sure he's 100%. I think that depends on Apple's Away's participation. But Chianti Classico, he's about 3rd in. Interesting, the 2 ahead of him in the betting, Meeting of the Waters is the hot pot, and there's a Gordon Elliott horse as well. Both Irish trained. I mean, they've got an abysmal record in the race. They had 2 of the first 4 home last year, yes. Prior to that, I think they had the year before none of the first 5 or 6 home. It's a race which traditionally goes to the Brits. Shock horror at the festival. Chianti Classico is the leading British charge. I think his mark, there's still a bit of room for improvement, and Kim Bailey can target the Cheltenham handicaps pretty accurately. So Chianti Classico is the first of them. Then the Boodles. We are very much going Irish. I don't think there's any other way to look in the Boodles. And it's with the, as you would have it currently, JP's 2nd string, which is Nara. Now, she comes out the race last time, which I don't know why it is, but has a ridiculous record of finding Boodles winners. So 4 winners have come out of this race in the past. She was patiently ridden. She was in with Noel Mead's horse out the back for much of the race. I thought at this point a little bit before this, she was going to come and challenge, and then, you know, she's starting to slow down at this point, and she finishes pretty tamely, to be honest. Obviously, this was her 3rd start. She had 1 in France and then 2 in Ireland. The first of them's a decent bit of form, with the 2nd, Carla Conti, going and winning at the top level. Look, it's a slight guessing game, of course it is, because she's going to need to run a lot better than this to go and take a Boodles. But we know the race seems to be a good guide to the Boodles. You know, she looks to be pretty fairly treated coming into that, particularly based upon that first run. And I guess the intent off the back of, you know, seeing whether she was going to make it into a Triumph filly with that first start when she went off, I think, about 6 to 1. You know, it appeared she wasn't, so give her another run and then aim her at the Boodles seems to be the way to go. I thought she could be interesting at that, at still chunky double figures. Then the Coral Cup. So there were 2 horses I wanted to mention for this. One was Doddy the Great. I'm not sure he's going to get in. Might I is the other one. Now, this horse has bumped into some ridiculous horses in the past, the likes of John Bond, the likes of Constitution Hill, the likes of 3 Stripe Life, 2nd in a Grade 1. And he ran at Cheltenham last year off £3 higher, 145. He lines up off 142 in the Coral Cup. He gets a bit tight for room up the near side rail. A Rocco just comes across him. I don't think that's an obvious excuse. And I came away from this over 2 miles, 4.5 furlongs on the new course thinking, didn't stay. But if he didn't stay, he's going to finish 8th here. But he still keeps on and finishes 4th. I just wonder if he is, I think he's potentially a little soft. I think he's He was just a bit intimidated up the rail there that was No Ordinary Joe ended up coming across him. We know it's good form. No Ordinary Joe, Buddy won, Iroko finishing ahead of him, and he lines up off £3 lower. He was, I think, originally considered for going back to that race. I quite like it there, not against the sort of young hot pots. Like the horses that were in that race tend to be novices. They tend to be completely unexposed, and it's a tough race to win, the Martin Pipe. The Coral Cup is not such an unexposed horses race. I don't think it's ever been won by a first-season hurdler, thanks to Matt Toombs for that stat. So, you know, he fits the bill pretty well. His chase career just didn't take off. He didn't love the fences. I'm looking forward to seeing him back in a handicap hurdle, £3 lower last year. I have this slight niggling doubt at the trip, but I think it's definitely worth putting some money behind him to try and find out. And then the obvious one, Key de Bourbon. He's been hammered, absolutely hammered in the market for the Martin Pipe. What can I tell you about him? He's had 2 goes so far. He's looked pretty good on each of them. I thought the most interesting thing was at Cheltenham last time he came back in trip, dramatically back in trip, when it was suggested that he was a proper stayer. So he was given an entry, I think it was at Warwick by Willie Mullins, which I'm sure was just a, see what sort of rating he gets to see what race we go for. The rating meant he could run in a Martin Pipe. He's obviously being aimed at that because he's been really well supported. Look, he's about 4-1 favourite at the moment, but he has been a horse on my radar since it was flagged up to me by Josh Stacey of Racing TV fame. Thank you, Josh, that he was given that entry into a UK handicap hurdle. And they were obviously seeing what mark they got, and then it made sense to run him in the Martin Pipe. Back over further because he definitely found that too sharp at Clonmel last time. But the genius of that is that he wasn't going to win too far, and that mark is slightly protected. So I guess that's another reason why they probably just came back in trip, because it was never going to suit him ideally. He's just one of those could be anything horses, a future stayer who tend to take the Martin Pipe and go on to bigger and better things over that intermediate trip up to 3 miles. He's well found in the market, but he's a handicapper I definitely want on side. So that's the 4. I don't know what it pays, but, they won't all cop, will they? Chianti Classico in the Ultima, a race which traditionally the Brits have a very good record in. Nara in the Boodles for JP McManus, 2nd string in his colours currently. Might I Coral Cup, £3 less than last year in the Martin Pipe. And Key de Bourbon this year in the Martin Pipe itself, the sort of handicap hot pot that everyone's got behind, but still like the horse's chances.